Alright, this is the Lexus project, and I want you to enjoy watching this build as it progresses. Now I bought this to pull the engine out and stick it in something else, but it was just too good, just too nice to drive. I couldn't do it. Nobody likes orange. So now it's starting to look better, but those Mark III super lowering springs were just a bit too far. So those springs had to go. We put the standard springs and shock absorbers back on it. Oh, speed bumps, you can go over them again, magic. Even if it does look like it's on stilts. It's not looking bad for a 500 quid car though. Although this is its best side. The other side, the paint is not quite as good. But it did come with a year's MOT and full service history. Again, another filthy engine bay, but don't worry, in the next episode, that is addressed. So there is your 4 litre V8 32 valve, 260 brake horsepower monster. I don't know why I took that off. I've no idea. I don't even know where it is. Gearbox oil cooler. This is an airbox mod that everyone says, oh, you're going to lose power, but you know, I don't really care about losing 4 horsepower for the noise that it makes. Oh, it's tremendous. But when the boost happens, all that's going to change anyway. Bit of rev limiter action. I didn't boot it there till I got on the tarmac because I didn't want to shatter everything in stones. And there you can see the bad side of the paint job, not great. Now you might notice here that there's a bit of trim missing from the interior. There is a good reason for that. And that's because when I was going to break this for the engine, I just kind of used it as a van and chucked everything in it and just abused the interior in general. So I'm halfway changing it from grey interior to black interior because the black hides muck a lot better. And crawling about on the floor, looking underneath cars and then getting back into a grey interior is never a good thing. So let's go for a drive in the only project that's, you know, got an engine that functions. So all the A, B and C pillar trims in the grey interior are grey, and in the black interior they're just a slightly different shade of grey. And I'm not sure if I want it to be black or not, or just stick with that top sort of darker grey. Now for a 20-year-old automatic gearbox, this is one of them ones that you can change manually, and it's really alright. And you can almost drive it like a manual transmission. And get great engine braking as well. So there's a better view of that bad paintwork where the lacquer has almost completely disappeared from one side. lean into it, otherwise you'll get taken away with the roll. Talking of paintwork, when I've got the thing flattened down and sort of, you know, ready to be sorted out, we're going to go metallic blue. But I'm not going to paint it, I'm going to vinyl wrap it. I started with these lower panels just to see how it works, because I've never done it before, so, you know. But I've decided to keep the two-tone lower section of grey as it is, albeit a bit tidied up, and then go blue for the top and black roof. Now the 0 to 60 for this model is about 7 and a bit seconds, so it's not too shabby, and it'll go on to do 155 easy. In its day, it was a heavy car, 1650 kilos this one weighs, and you know, by today's cars, that's not that much anymore. The standard tyre size on these is 225/60/16, which is tiny. I've moved to these Team Dynamics 18-inch wheels. They're horrible, I hate them, but they were cheap. We've got 245/40 on the rear and 225/40 on the front. One of the first things I did was to replace the shock absorbers with these Bilstein B6 Sport dampers. They made an amazing difference to the handling. Brakes wise, we're still on the stock 4-pot calipers. They're pretty big and beefy, and you know, they're alright, pretty good. But it's going to need some decent discs and pads on it soon when it's pumping out twice the power it has. I changed all the front end bushes for some like stock 08 pattern ones from Malaysia, and they weren't a good buy, don't bother with them. So I'm slowly sort of replacing everything with poly bushes. So we started with a lower arm inner bushes, and just doing them made an amazing difference. Next job to do is the rear top arm bushes. I've got some play in the driver's side arm, and that you can just about hear that knocking, so that needs doing next. A change of view for the change of subject. Now, the turbo. As you've seen, there's not a lot of room for a turbo in that engine bay, and there's two ways people do it. People either have to lose power steering and put a smaller alternator on and lose aircon and then flip the manifolds around the other way, or they keep the manifolds the way they are and just send them back 180 degrees on themselves back towards the front of the car and then into a single turbo there. So I'm going to do the controversial thing and stick it out back. The rear mount turbos have been done quite a lot now, and I'll be covering that subject in depth in another video. So this is where it's going, and that's the hole I made. The turbo is a nice cheap Chinese 3582 copy, so you can pick them up real cheap and pretty disposable really. I started mocking it up in the back using its own oiling system, oil supply and return. Fiat people might recognise that sump and oil pump. So I figured a complete self-contained system, that's the turbo, the oiling system and cooling and everything, all in one unit, rather than dragging the oil from the front of the engine and then having to pump it back into the engine, and if the turbo breaks up or anything like that, you don't want bits going back into the engine, so this way it's all kept separate. And then underneath, that sump looks quite neat there. And this was the exhaust I was going to use from the manifolds down. No cats, no resonators, no silencers, nothing. But it's 2.5 inches, and I think that's too big. I'm going to lose pressure, so I'm going to keep it the stock size piping to the turbo, and then 3-inch out the other side of that. I'm going to be using a splitter, so I can have it nice and quiet when I want, and loud and raucous straight out the turbo when I want as well. In part 2, we're going to be taking a much more in-depth look at the turbo setup. We're going to be sorting out that front arm so it's not knocking anymore, and putting the Bilsteins back in. Don't forget to like it, subscribe, click the little bell button, leave comments, all that stuff. I love it. And for more 90s car projects, check out my other videos. See you later.